In this video, we're going to look at dynamics and also copying and pasting elements of your score. So let's take a look at the dynamic in the first bar of the symphony and add it. Click on the first chord in the flute part, and if you want to add a dynamic, you can do it the long way by going to the Create menu, down to Text, and then Expression, because dynamic is a kind of expressive text. Or you can learn the shortcut, which is Command E or Control E on Windows. So type Control E or Command E. A cursor flashes. You can actually right click if you wanted to, but let's try typing. If you just type F, you get a bit of a wimpy looking forte marking in italics. The reason Sibelius does that is because it wants you to be able to type crescendo in italics and stuff like that. But actually what you really want is a bolder forte. So how are we going to do that? So hold down Command or Control on Windows and then type the dynamic, and it'll come out rather nicer. So Command or Control and F for forte. Then hit Escape. And now you can go down to the next note where you might need a dynamic. Do the same thing again, Control or Command E, and then hold down Control or Command and then type the dynamic. So that's a bit long-winded to do it for every instrument. So is there a better way? Yes, there is. So we're going to learn a little bit about copying and pasting. Now just go Command C or Control C to copy the forte. It's still highlighted, so it needs to be highlighted before you do this. Now highlight all the other parts into which you would like the dynamic to be. Click on the first bar and then scroll down to the bottom of the score and shift click. You may remember that from earlier, and that actually shift clicking selects all of the measures. And now go Control or Command V to paste the dynamic. Now Sibelius does something especially clever if you've got Sibelius 6. Let's zoom in and you'll see when you highlight each bar there are actually two forte markings present. There's this one and there's this grayed out one. The grayed out one is showing you what the default position would be if you'd copied it into exactly the same position in every part. And it would have actually collided with stuff like notes and staccatos and so forth. So what Sibelius has actually done is worked out a better position for these forte markings. It's kept them nicely in line. You can see that with the little dotted line running between all of them. And it's also made sure that it's moved them slightly to the left before the note to make sure they don't bump into the notes or the articulations. Now, if you were to manually space out the staves by pressing and holding your mouse on any stave and dragging it to make it a little bit more space, once they've all got a little bit more space, the fortes, you'll notice, will actually start jumping over. They will jump around as Sibelius works out whether it's got enough space. So let's actually undo all those things by going Command or Control Z. So you can see that Sibelius is really very, very clever in terms of spacing. This new feature is called magnetic layout. That's going to save you a lot of time, and now you know how to copy and paste dynamics into lots of parts at once. Now let's come over here to the viola part and type in again Command E or Control E to add an expression mark. You can right click to get a list, or you can type the dynamic Command or Control P. Now if you want to do a simple copy and paste, you can actually use Command C and Command V, but there is a quicker way that it's really worth learning. Hold down the Alt key on Mac or Windows and then move your mouse and click where you want to copy, and whatever is selected previously gets copied. So Alt click, and you can click several times to add lots of piano markings into all of those places. It's a very quick one-click copy, so let's actually undo those things so you can see. Now the last bit of copying and pasting is to do multiple bars. At the end of the last video, we talked about putting in all the parts. We actually need to add the second violin, and if you compare it to the viola, it's actually the same rhythm and the same tremolo marking. So is there a way of copying those notes into the violin too? Yes. Let's highlight the 6 bars, and you can either use Command C, Command V, or let's use this new technique of Alt-click. Move your mouse and Alt-click. Sibelius copies it. It's written it out at the correct pitch, the same pitch as the viola. And now we can just move it up. The note's still selected, so use the arrow keys. The up arrow keys will move the notes into a different pitch diatonically, so you can nudge any number of notes up and down with those arrow keys. So that's how to put dynamic markings in and multi-copy, and how to copy and paste different bits of music. The last one that we need to learn, as far as dynamics, is how to put crescendo and diminuendo lines into the score if you don't want to just write the word crescendo or diminuendo. The way we do it is very similar to slurs or phrase marks that we did earlier. You may remember earlier we used the letter S and the space bar to add a slur. Very much the same with crescendo markings. Select a note. Shortcut is H for hairpin, which is the jazz name for a crescendo. Use the space bar to extend the hairpin one note at a time. If you need a diminuendo, select a note and press Shift H and use the space bar to extend it.